Hello, welcome to St Michael's Hill. Today is the first monthly update that I'll be looking to bring you from the layout. Obviously I've been on YouTube now a couple of months but haven't really got around to doing a proper monthly layout, so I'm going to be looking to change that and bring you a monthly update probably towards the end of each month. I'm going to run you through what I've been doing on the layout over the last month and a little bit about what I'm planning to do as we move forward. Firstly, apologies for my voice. I've had a really bad cold, so I probably sound worse than usual. Hopefully that'll be sorted for future videos, but for now I wanted to really get this out, and my voice is a lot better, so I thought I'd just crack on and go with it. So the first big change to the layout this month has been putting in the lights. So these platform lights were already here, but the lights on the buffer beams, the buffer stops, and also the street lights at the back are new. So they've been put in and wired up. The street lights at the back still aren't fixed into place yet, so they need to be just moved around and glued into place, but everything else is fully glued in. I'm really happy with how they've turned out. The lights on the buffer stops might be a little bright. They look a little bright on camera, but I think in real life they're a little bit less than that. But I might need to add another resistor to the circuit to bring their kind of brightness down a little bit. As you can see in lower light, they look really good. There's still a bit of light here, but it's kind of like an evening type light, and they look really nice. You can see the signals as well, obviously, are still lit up, but that's nothing new on the layout. So these lights are all on independent switches, so I can control not each light separately, but each of the groups. So all the buffer stops are on one switch, the street lights are on another, and the signals are on another, and the platform lines are on their own ones as well. So it can basically be set up however I want it to be. I did think about putting different switches for each of the lights, but frankly I just didn't see there was too much value in doing that. Switches are, they're not expensive, but equally the time to take to wire up all of them would be, well, a nightmare. And if I showed you under my layout now, the wiring is already fairly extreme and fairly messy, so that's something I definitely need to do at some point, is clean that up. One of the other things I've done this month is the road surface and the detailing around this side of the layout. The road surface was a Scale Scenics kit, I think, so you just print it out off the internet with a load of road pieces, and you can just cut them out and stick them down, and I gave them a little bit of a weathering here and there, and added a little bit of detail, and the lines as well came with the kit. So instead of using the bits of road they were on, I actually cut out the lines and basically glue them down separately. So that's what I've done there. There's still a few little bits just in front of the gate down here and under the EWS sign. I just need to tidy up a little bit, maybe put a little bit more greenery there, but I'm generally really happy with how the roads look compared to how they looked before. Adding the pavement as well, I think it's worked really well. And again, it's just the same thing. So I took a couple of layers of plasticard, put them together, and then used the paper textures to fold around them, and I'm really happy with how the results have come out. Whilst we're here, I'm also added the depot signage. So I managed to find on eBay a guy who was you basically customize your own signs, so I will put a link below to where you can get those from. The turnaround time is really good, so I think within probably 2 or 3 days the signs have been kind of printed and delivered, and I'm really happy with them. So as we can see, it's going to be an EWS marshalling yard, and then we've got signage here at the front and another sign just here. Then adding the post is quite simple. It's just a couple of pieces of brass wire, or brass rod, sorry, that I've primed and painted, and then just cut off and then super glued the signage to them. So I'm really happy with how they've kind of turned out. I going to be using a similar technique for a lot of the other signs on the layout. So I definitely recommend, if you're going to have a lot of signs on the layout, just pick up a few lengths of rod and get the primer out, get the grey paint out, and just do a load, and then you can just basically cut them to fit as we go and touch up. And they're going to be good for things like speed restriction signs, any road signs, and all that sort of stuff. As well as that, I've kind of added a few little railings, so around the junction boxes and around the signal here, there's some railings that I picked up. They're card kit, so just cut them out, paint them up, and they're good to go. I'm really pleased with how they look. The paint actually does go on quite well. It was quite difficult, and I think that's just because it's a yellow paint, and as we all know, yellow paint can be a little bit tricky, but actually I quite like the way that it looks a little bit distressed, which is exactly what would be like in real life. So yeah, very, very happy with that. And I'll be adding a lot more detailing over the next kind of month or so, as the layout's kind of coming towards a kind of a close. There's oddly a few really big jobs that I need to do, but actually the layout, I'm starting to get very happy with it. I need to do a little bit more work around here, maybe adding some additional colours, a bit more of a mud vibe. But generally I'm really pleased with how it's going. There are just a few areas that need to be kind of touched up and some more detailing added. And the crucial one is getting the trains running. The situation with that right now, there's two things that are stopping me from running the trains. Firstly, the points, they've all been wired up. Well, I say they've all been wired up, they haven't. So they're wired up to point motors and they work. The only thing I need to still do is now attach those to the bus. So I have all the wires ready, I just need to at some point go under there and do it. I just need to get it done. I'm probably a little bit worried about doing that and finding that it doesn't work and having to do something else. But yeah, I'm fairly sure they do work. I tested it all before. It's just a case of now going back under there, soldering the joints and wiring it all up, and away we go. So that's one reason that there's no trains running. The other is still that there's no fiddle yard. So at the moment, with a pointer placed, other than maybe a class 8, there's nothing that's going to be able to go from one track to the other. So I will look to be doing that in the next month or so. I am also getting ready to move house, so it's just whether it comes before that or after that, or you know, anything like that. So we will see. But it's something that I'm going to be looking to add. So it's going to probably be another board that'll go on the end here. With, I think having looked at it, I think the best option is going to be kind of a cassette-based fiddle yard. So there'll be a couple of tracks, and then they'll just lead to a couple of cassettes, or maybe on a slider or something that we can use to change trains and things like that. Although I am a bit concerned about how that will look in terms of trains running from one track to another. Now, I don't see that that's going to be happening too much, other than maybe if there's some shunting going on, but it would be something that would be nice to do. So I'll have a think about that a bit more and make a decision. Another project that I'll be working on next month is continuing with the Class 33 project. So as you can see, it's coming on quite nicely. Next week I'll be posting the video about the flush glazing and how that's gone in, and then following that I'll be looking at the detailing. So I think it's a quick sneak peek. It's still unpainted, but some of that detailing is in place. So we've got couplings and air hoses and things like that. So when you compare that to how she used to look, it's a world of difference. The other thing I might end up doing on it is adding the grill, as we've spoken about before on those series. If you haven't seen those, check them out on the link now. As well as that, I did pick up some brass wire that I might use to put the door handle, or the door rails, and the rail that goes around the front. I might sand them down and then add brass versions as well. I think that would probably be it, although I have, like I said before, I want to add a cab and a driver at least at this leading end. So that will probably be the project finished, and then we'll go from there. But we shall see. I'm not entirely sure about the roof grille, because then it could be a complete repaint of the roof, and it at that point becomes might lose what is in essence a good loco. So we will see what happens on that one, but that's something that I'll be working on next month as well. So last weekend I headed down to Milton Keynes for the Great Electric Train Show. I thought it was a really good show. There's lots of great layouts there. It would have been nice to have had a few different traders. So I was thinking like a tool supply. That was it was odd, not Squires not being there. They were missed for sure. And for me, I always like a few more second-hand places. There were certainly a few, but most of the stuff there was fairly new. But I did pick up a few things. I'll just quickly run you through what I picked up at the show. So the first thing I picked up was these signs from Sankey Scenics. Just simply kind of speed warnings and other warnings that I'll be basically putting onto signs using the method I spoke about earlier with the brass rod and painting that grey, and then basically putting these speed signs on and just adding a little bit more detail. I'll add these restriction warnings to the sides of the tunnels, and certainly add a few more of them around the layout. So it's just going to add a nice little bit of detailing, and for a couple of quid it's easier to pick these up than print them yourself, in terms of finding a good paper stock and all that sort of stuff. So for me they're a bit of a godsend. The next thing I picked up is just some rocket card glue. I've not used it before. Lots of people say how good it is for kind of card building and things like that. So there is a few little bits and projects that I want to work on that involve card kits. So I just picked that up and I'll give that a go. Another reason that the track probably isn't running right now is it's still pretty dirty. So after I weathered it, I've given it a fairly good clean with the track rubber, but I just wanted to get something more heavy duty down. So I picked up this pack of Track Magic. I'm going to obviously give the rails a really good clean after I've wired up that point, or all of those points, and then we should have running. So I promise you that for the November update, you will see trains running, if not before. So that is definitely what I will do, assuming that I can get all the points to work. But yeah, I definitely want to get the trains running up there. It's going to be big. So I bought some Track Magic to help me along. So the final thing that I bought from the show was this Ratio kit, the Pratt gantry. So a comment was made on my layout tour video about the signal being wrong, and whilst I'm not too bothered about changing things because other people say they're not right, I kind of do agree. So the signal I wanted originally was to put it at the end of the platform. So you may have seen that there is a little bit of the orange kind of cable protection that goes under there, and the signal was going to sit up on the end of the platform. However, once I came to putting it there, it just became difficult because of the width of the platform, because of the length of trains. I want to be able to get in there, so I compromised and put it where it is on the layout at the moment. Now, having been told this isn't really correct, it is something that is bothering me a little bit. So I watched Charlie's video at Chadwick TMD, or Chadwick Parkway now, which I will link below, and he uses these Ratio kits for signal gantries, and they look really good. So I'm going to build this one, and then if it comes out good and looks how I want it to look, then I will consider dewiring the signal where it is, and then basically putting a gantry across the track, putting the signal heads into the gantry, and then just running the wires back through the hole that they're already in and back onto the wiring. So it shouldn't be a difficult job, but we'll see how it goes, see how it looks once the gantry is built up. So thank you, Charlie, and I'll put that potentially in another update. The last thing that I picked up from the show, and I didn't technically buy, but you probably know where this is going, I subscribed to Hornby magazine and got these EWS wagons as a free gift. Hornby magazine is something that I buy fairly regularly, probably monthly, so at that point I was decided that a subscription probably is worth doing. It's to me, one of the better magazines for modern image stuff. And as a modern image modeler, that's certainly useful for me. I also just generally like the magazine. I've kind of had a little project last month that I'll show you in a minute, that kind of shows me that actually Hornby is one of the magazines that I get the most out of. So I picked that up and got this 3-pack of wagons. So I'll just get one out. So it's EWS wagon. It's fairly simple, but it's quite nice to have a little 3-pack. All the running numbers are different on each one of them, and it's definitely something that I'll be able to kind of have a little project, weather them all up, make them look a bit more realistic, and add loads and things like that, and we'll go from there. I'm very pleased with that as a free gift for something that I probably would continue to have bought anyway, so well chuffed with that. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I am looking to move in the next few months. So I've kind of been thinking about that, packing a few things away, and one of those things was a massive pile of railway magazines. So generally they're modelling magazines with a few other ones thrown in there. And I was kind of just looking at them all, wondering whether I'll ever read them again. So I decided to go through them all, take out any articles that were useful to me or were interesting to me, and basically throw the rest away. And I put them all into this folder. So as you can see, it's just a fairly simple system where I'll keep the front cover of any magazine that I'm going to be keeping, and then I've just kept articles, so things that I think will be useful for my layout. So, you know, how to weather concrete, it's always going to be useful. Scrap wagon loads and all those sorts of things. But there's not much per magazine, so there's maybe 2 or 3 articles in some, and some there's none at all. So it might just be, you know, I think I kept this one just because of the weathering on the railhead treatment train. But yeah, it's just a nice way to kind of keep all of, you know, the things that I'm finding useful. So whether it's skills I want to try or layouts that I really like. So I'm fairly sure there's a few in here that are just layouts or things about prototypes that just interest me in terms of things I might want to run on my layout. So this might kind of give you a quick idea of the things that I'm looking to do. But yeah, I'm kind of really pleased with how it's all come out. It's kind of taken a while to do, but now I have, instead of a massive stack of magazines, I've just got one folder which you know, has a lot of information in that I'm actually going to find useful, so I'll probably start to use it more. In fact, I already have used it more as a reference piece, so it's something that maybe I suggest, you know, you out there, if you have a similar problem with a massive stack of magazines, then yeah, do something similar. So in terms of ordering, I've kept them all in date order, and then we're in magazines, so all the Hornby magazines are together in order, and you know, all the BRM and Model Rail and all that sort of stuff. So I just kind of, yeah, something that you might want to try. Maybe you don't, maybe you much prefer to keep the magazines as they are, but it's kind of up to you. Yeah, I'm just kind of really pleased with it, and it's kind of given me an insight as well in which magazines I get the most from. Obviously there's news in all of them, and all this sort of stuff, but yeah, I think there's definitely a few that have come out that I get a lot more in terms of modelling kind of guides from, and others I don't. So yeah, we continue to do this. I think it's very, very good. So I think that's everything for this month's update. Like I said, I will keep these updates coming monthly now, probably towards the end of each month. So the next layout update will probably be with you late November. Hopefully a lot will have been done. In the meantime, I will continue to bring railway modelling videos from St Michael's Hill every Saturday. So if you like what you see, subscribe, hit that bell notification if you want to be kept up to date on when the videos are coming out. But like I said, every Saturday I'll look to bring out a modelling video, and then the real life train stuff will come in the weeks. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me today at St Michael's Hill, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.